Welcome everyone to this very first special episode, a special myth episode of why some people don't like Tesla. In this episode, I'm going to go through all the major categories of reasons and whether or not they actually have merits, and basically why it has come to be this way. Some of those reasons may be legit and some of them are rather misguided, but I will try to be unbiased and clear them all up. Admittedly, I have a favorite bias towards Tesla. I do own stocks. Disclaimer, obviously not financial investment advice and advices, and it's for entertainment purpose only. But I want you to be a little bit patient and go through all the categories as they are all equally important. And the 4 categories I'm going to go through are specs, pricing, sentiment, and the livelihood of people. So another disclaimer is that I don't work for Tesla, SpaceX, or any of the Elon companies. I just happen to love the company and the shirt. That's why I'm wearing it. And please help like and subscribe to my channel and share to your friends so that you can educate them on Tesla better. Without further ado, let's go to the first category about specs. So why people not like Tesla? When we look at it from the specs perspective, some people are saying the very first thing that comes to EVs when we talk about specs is the charging. A lot of people saying it's horrible. A lot of chargers are not working and it takes too long to charge up an EV, and simply there just aren't enough chargers in the United States. Now, I want to give some recognition to this argument. It has some truth to it, especially if you don't live in a house where you have an easy access to like an electric plug, or you haven't installed a charger, a level 2 charger in your home, then it may not be for you. If you live in like a condo in a big city like Manhattan or San Francisco, you may not be able to park your car next to your home where you can just pull a wire out and charge your car. And if you don't have a garage that has electric chargers, then yeah, you may be very inconvenient for you to own an EV, because in that case, the only time you can charge your car is you actually go to a charging station, and that might be inconvenient for you. I want to give credibility to that argument. However, for the rest of you, which is still a lot of people who don't live in rural apartments, I want to debunk some of those reasons. First of all, they're saying a lot of chargers are not working, simply. Actually, that is only true for most non-Tesla chargers. Those other EV charging, supercharging networks, those have a very bad uptime. That is true. You know, sometimes I go to Tesla chargers and next to it there are other networks and there's a long line there because out of those 10 or so chargers, only 3 or 4 are working. So, but for Tesla, the uptime is actually 99.95%, almost close to 100%. And that's also true from my personal experience of going to Tesla chargers. So if you have a Tesla car, then obviously you won't have that problem going to superchargers and finding the chargers not working. But how about the not enough argument? There are not enough chargers, superchargers for EVs. I think that is also again true for non-Tesla EVs because their network is still building out and nowhere near as many as Tesla's. As you can see on the map, there are like more than 50,000 superchargers in the United States already. And it's basically along all the major routes of all the road trips you can take. So that is actually not a problem. There's enough of them for Tesla, just not for non-Tesla. And about the argument of like it taking too long, actually it's actually not taking that long, as long as it's not about you just jumping out of the car and then put your charger in for 5 minutes and you expect to go full. Sure, it's not as far as gas car yet. It's getting better and better, but it's not fast enough yet. So the latest versions can charge a Tesla car from 20% to 80% in 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. It's almost just as long as you going out and buy a coffee and maybe going to a bathroom break, stretching your legs. It's already 15 minutes. And then you can go on the roll until you are down to 20% again, which probably take 2-3 hours. And you know, everybody needs a break every 2-3 hours, right? I mean, sometimes you have to have lunch, sometimes you have had dinner, even if you don't take coffee breaks. So that's really not a problem for road trips. So while EV charging is not quite good enough for other cars, for Tesla it's definitely enough. So this the EV charging point about specs. The second one is about build qualities. So a lot of people complain about panel gaps, interior quality, that being bad, and basically the style being too plain, too minimalistic, and there are very few model choices. And that is the argument for Tesla build qualities being bad. So let's go through this one by one. For gaps and build qualities, let's give credit where it's due. At the early days of any model being produced, there's always early production issues. And yes, you will experience certain panel gaps, or maybe certain parts not being fixated properly and being loose or not working. But that usually only apply to the first few hundred or few thousand production cars. And after that, usually they get better and better and better. Look at the Model 3s and the Model Ys these days. Model 3 came out since 2019, and then Model Y 2022 or so. And they have both gotten really good now. If you get a new Model 3, Model Y, you won't see any panel gaps. All the qualities are very good, except maybe just very small thing. For example, I took my car last year, Model Y, haven't had any single problem except the glove box. And when I brought it in, they fixed it right away, and there's no other issues at all. And let's be fair, even not just EVs or Tesla, even ICE cars, gas cars, when they got a new model out, they will also have these issues for the first production ones. So we gotta be fair as well. Now, about the internal minimalistic style point, there's this point is very controversial. It's a matter of style, really. These days, a lot of young folks prefer minimalistic style, not only in their cars, but in their apartment or on their work desk. Very rarely do you see a work desk that's full of gadgets and stuff and make them look cool and stuff, or an apartment that has all kinds of decorations. More often than not these days, you see a minimalistic decor, not only in work, home and work, but also in restaurants and stuff like that. So it's actually a trendy style. So if a company has to choose a style for all of its cars, then maybe minimalistic is the way to go. Not only is it the popular trendy choice, but it's also obviously the cost-sensitive choice, economical choice, right? You don't have to spend nearly as much money, but then you get a trendy effect. And let's not forget, being minimalistic actually pays dividends, as opposed to the other way around, where you put a bunch of stuff in your car. Because once you put your stuff in your car, it's really hard to take it out, right? And it's already cost that you have to put in it. But if it's minimalistic, you can actually personalize it however you like. It's kind of like having a blank canvas, right? You can put a bunch of decorations on your dashboard. You can customize different stickers around your interior trim. You can put different brakes and pedals and internal lighting. You know, even your chairs can be customized. There's no limit to changing all of that to your liking. As opposed to you buy this out of the factory, they already install all these buttons, all these fancy gadgets when you don't really want them sometimes. But there's no way you can get rid of them, and you already pay for it. So if a car maker has to make these choices, being minimalistic makes a whole lot of sense, right? So the similar reason goes for the argument that Tesla doesn't provide a lot of model choices. Honestly, if the internal of a car is almost the same anyway, you take any legacy automaker, take any model and make, right? There might be a list of models, but internally the engine is almost the same. The brake system and the transmission and all that is basically the same. The only difference is just the outside shape, maybe slight difference here and there. Those are really superficial styles or choices, really. If you really want that kind of choices, it's actually not hard for you to go get a wrap, get a different color, different pattern on your car, put on some bars on top, or a little spoiler on the back, or even like bumper in front or behind your car, or some decal or stickers around your car. or internal trace. You can do all sorts of things to your car, but then you only pay for what you want instead of pay for a bunch of stuff, only a small portion of it that you want. So I think that explains the design decision there, being minimalistic and having fewer model choices. Because having more is simply wasting money and just superficial differences that you can actually customize yourself. So I hope that settles the build quality argument for the spec category. Now, about the specs, right? There's also people who talk about cold temperature issues, right? So in cold winter, EVs, right, in this case Tesla, lose more miles than traditional ICE cars or gas cars, right? So actually, if you did a quick Google search, it'll tell you that even gas or ICE cars lose about 12% of miles in cold winter. And that is true. I mean, you probably experience it yourself, right? I mean, in winter, there's no way a car will run more efficient than summer, because just heating up the car, the engine, waiting for the car to warm up, and then also, not to mention, you have to turn on the heat as well most of the time, we'll already use more gas than normal. And for EV, it's the same. But in EV, the range is about 10 to 20%. So 20% sounds a lot more than 12, but it's not as much as they make you think, right? The impression is that, EVs in winter's performance is so bad, it's like losing 50% of. No, it's not that much. It's just like maybe 8% more. Sure, it's still a little more, but there are other advantages of having an EV car in winter. First, you can remotely heat it up, right? Prepare the car, and so it's not all bad. It's not that bad either. Also, there are many cold countries actually have a lot of Teslas, right? Like those countries in Europe, and none of them really have a lot of problems. Sure, have a little bit fewer mileage, but it's not that bad. It's pretty acceptable. A lot of people in Europe buy Tesla cars. There's so many of them, really good sales in Europe. And also within the Tesla community, we may used to complain about it. Maybe it was much worse before. For example, in really cold weather, if you put in the slowest form of charging, like the mobile charger, maybe the speed of that charging isn't even enough to compensate for your car being turned on at some point in the past. But right now, we got a lot better. The charger's a lot more efficient, faster. The car's more efficient with over-the-air software updates. So within the Tesla community, we are not all Tesla fanboys, because there are so many Tesla owners now. So there are a bunch of non-fanboys as well who will pick on any weakness or disadvantage of the car. So we don't really sugarcoat within the community. And there definitely is a downtrend of people complaining about the cold weather performance of Teslas. So I hope in this sense, the cold temperature issue is settled. And this is only the first category spec, so this is a little bit longer episode. I think I should split it into two, part 1 and part 2. And part 1 today, we're only going to cover specs and pricing. Now, let us go to pricing. Now, pricing is a big one, because the first thing you'll hear about people say about EVs or Tesla is that, man, it's more expensive than gas cars. Why would I want to pay more for the same thing when the charging is not that good, right? So actually, that's actually no longer the case. Teslas in particular, I don't know about other EVs, right? Other EVs aren't really worth mentioning. Not many of them are, right? There may be a couple that does a decent job, but many of them are just not good competitors, right? So, but Tesla is no longer expensive because they keep lowering the price recently. If you pay attention to their news, they recently lower Model 3 to basically like the low 30,000 range, and the Model Y to the high 30,000 range. So for less than 40 grand, you can get a Model Y now. And for some of you, the discount may be even higher, because if your income is under a certain bracket, the government will give you $7,500 as credit on top of some state and city incentives. So you may get like maybe even 9,000 or 10,000 off of your sticker price. So you could potentially get a Model 3 for less than 30 grand, I believe. Go check it out. And only like a couple days ago, Tesla actually announced this APR rate that's only 0.99% if you order by this month within May of 2024. This is a crazy deal because that would mean for the same price car that's worth 60 grand, let's say, you will pay over $100 less. It will be like 500 instead of 600 something. So that's a crazy deal and really, really good value for the car. So Tesla cars are no longer expensive. In fact, the Model 3, Model Y's price are already cheaper than the average selling price of all the cars in America. A lot of cars are sold in America actually in the $40,000, $30,000 something dollars range. So Model Y and Model 3 has gotten so cheap that it's already cheaper than the average. And when we talk about actually the value, Model Y is the most popular car period in 2023. They sell more than Toyota Camrys. Can you believe that? Camrys are everywhere because the gas mileage is so good and they're so doable and reliable, and yet Model Y outsell them even though Model Y is more expensive than them. So the value is there. So in terms of this, the pricing really isn't a reason to dislike Tesla, but I can understand why some people still think it's expensive, but it's no longer the case for the reason I mentioned. Now, another reason why people dislike Tesla for pricing is that their pricing is so unstable. Oh my God, right? 1 month it went up and went up and went up, and then after the interest rate gone down, the Tesla pricing keeps going down and keep going down and keep going down. Like this is a reason to dislike Tesla, because if you bought a car at an expensive price point and then the car value just keep getting lower and lower and lower, you feel like you are being betrayed. You spend this money and then only have a super fast depreciating asset. That is a legit concern. Unfortunately, all the car makers have to do this when they actually are able to still turn a profit because they're actually cheaper to make now with their efficiencies in manufacturing. They're only getting better and better at manufacturing, so they're able to lower the price and still make a profit. And why wouldn't they do that, right? You want to sell more cars so then you can make more money and get your car out there, become a popular household brand, right? So unfortunately, that has to be the case. So if your money is really tight, yeah, maybe you want to wait a little bit, but then you don't want to wait too long. So being unstable has a disadvantages of you buying a car more expensive and then keeps going down. But remember, price don't always go down. Eventually, it will come back up. When will that happen? It's when the interest rate comes down, people are more able to afford things and buy things. Then Tesla no longer need to lower their prices that much, even though they will still do so because they want as many cars on the road as possible. So you don't want to wait for too long, especially once FSD is completely solved. Right now, I think we are like 95% there. So wait for the next version 12.4. If it's really solved almost completely, the value of your car will bounce back like crazy because everybody would want a car that can drive itself rather than a car that cannot. So if you bought it 10,000 more expensive, so what? A car that can drive itself is going to be worth way more than 10,000 than the other car. So your value will come back. Just wait and be patient. Now, one more point about pricing, why people don't like Tesla is that the insurance costs for Teslas are high, not just Teslas, but also EV in general, mostly because the repairing cost is kind of high when it happens. But we'll go into that in just a bit. And not many companies can repair a Tesla, right? Mostly only Tesla service centers or some very specific car repair shops. So that's why the insurance cost is a little bit high. However, now while this is a legit concern, like I myself had Tesla insurance, it cost me like at least 60% more than a normal insurance on a normal car. But still, this is only going to get better. The cost is going to go lower because the Tesla insurance is already available in 12 states. Tesla insurance is actually cheaper than the insurance you get on a normal car from a normal insurance company. So once the Tesla insurance is available in your state, assuming you're a normal safe driver, your premium will be pretty low. It will be pretty good. It will be less than $100 a month for sure for a full coverage. So right now it's already available in 12 states. It's only expanding to more and more eventually. Obviously, the goal for Tesla is to cover all 50 states of United States. Of course, that will take a long time because you know how United States work, right? Every state has its has their own laws and everything, all the red tapes. So it'll take longer, but it will get there. Now, repair costs being too high is also a legit concern, although it's not really a main one because, first of all, Tesla barely need any maintenance, okay? I've had my car for 2 years. All I have had to do, honestly, is to put my windshield fluid, wiper fluid in. That's it. I mean, all I need is a funnel and the liquid. That's it. I just spend like $15 on Amazon, get that bottle, and then a couple bucks getting the funnel and just pour it in. That's it. There's nothing else. I don't even need brake pads because most of the time I brake with the regenerative braking, which uses the counter momentum of the gears. So you don't really need much maintenance cost at all. So the only repair cost is when you get in an accident, which is very, very rare, right? And usually covered by your insurance, right? So, and also your battery repair is one of the main things people talk about, the repair cost being too high. They say, what if you need to replace your battery? First of all, the batteries last very, very long, right? They basically have like almost a 10-year warranty or 8-year warranty or something. So you won't need to replace your battery for like 8 to 10 years. Now, okay, you might need to look it up for the exact number, but it's ballpark there, right? So how much is it when you have to repair a battery? I believe it's about 15 to 20 grand. Yeah, it's not a small cost, that is true. But it takes 8 to 10 years before you have to replace it. And maybe you don't even have to do it then because it's usually counted by miles. So you might have to, I think right now the miles is either 500,000 or 1 million. So you have to drive like 500,000 or 1 million miles to replace the battery. You know what? Most cars are dead by the 150,000 or 200,000 mile mark, right? A lot of cars don't even last that long. Only really longevity cars like the Japanese cars might run crazily. Some of them, very rare cases, go up to 250,000. So for a Tesla car to fail at 1 million or 500,000 miles and replacing the battery really is not a big deal. So the repair cost is not really a reason to dislike Tesla. And these are the two categories of why people might dislike Tesla. And in my second part of this special episode, I will go into why people dislike Tesla for its sentimental reasons and livelihood related reasons. And these two are the big ones. So please stay tuned. Those are actually really good reasons why people dislike Tesla. They're somewhat legit. As opposed to the two I covered today, they're mostly not legit reasons. But for the upcoming second half of this episode about the sentiments and the livelihood, those are very, very important reasons that I want to cover. And please stay tuned, and I will make that in just about a few hours. Thank you.